Bass! Hey, welcome to the Tony Scott Internet Show. I am Tony Scott. And every time I say, and I am Tony Scott, I'm like, well, who else would I be? And I don't know. It's just an old broadcast habit, I guess. So, hope your day's going okay so far. So far, so good. Did you win the lottery? Obviously, I didn't, because if I did win the lottery, I wouldn't be doing this. Yeah, I would. It's in my blood. I would do it. I would do it. When I retire in years, I probably will still be doing something like this because, like I said, it's in my blood. Also in my blood are my parents' DNA. And yesterday would have been Mom and Dad's 59th wedding anniversary. Dad passed away. It was in 2010 when we lost Dad. And checked in with Mom yesterday. She was working in the yard, and it's funny. She was talking about some department store down there, or they're hiring maybe for the holidays or something. I don't know. And she was telling me I was thinking about applying. I said, Mom, no. I need something to do. I'm like, no, go volunteer at church. No, no. There'll be none of that, Ma. I said, Dad never wanted you to work ever anyway. And now that he's gone, man, I ain't having him mad at me. No. Find something else to do, but you ain't working. Not here, sister. She just laughed. So, but we always talk about my dad because it makes us happy. At least me and her, we love to laugh about. My father was a very funny man, and he just was something else. He's a very special man, as all our dads are. But their anniversary yesterday, so. Michael Brown's official autopsy. Now, there's 3 of them, is there not? I know the federal government, and then the one the Brown family had from Dr. Michael Baden, and then yesterday was the St. Louis County autopsy, otherwise known as the BS autopsy, right? Nobody's buying anything these St. Louis County police or the Ferguson police are selling. But in the autopsy, it is said that he was shot, Michael Brown was shot in the hand at close range. Well, what does it mean? Well, doesn't mean he was going for Darren Wilson's gun. It means he got shot in the hand at close range. Doesn't mean he was tussling with Darren Wilson. Marijuana was apparently in Michael Brown's system. So are they going to make the argument now that that's what made him aggressive? Because if that's the case, I got to call BS on that too. Because I've never smoked weed, okay? But I've known plenty of people who have. And I even have relatives who are just what we call weed heads, right? And weed doesn't make you aggressive. To my knowledge, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, weed does not make you aggressive. I'm sorry. Now, my friend Liz Brown tweeted yesterday a report about Darren Wilson. Darren Wilson, claims that him and Michael Brown tussled, and his face was swollen on one side, and after everything happened and all that. But Darren Wilson, in his first interview with investigators, Darren Wilson never said that Michael Brown punched him. So what's up with that? Makes you kind of wonder, huh? Now, the Washington Post has been reporting all this leaked information. They said yesterday that over a half dozen black witnesses who've testified to the grand jury, quote, largely support Darren Wilson's account, end quote. Now, these leaks are they're not leaks. This is being purposely done. The reason most people say is because they're preparing everybody because Darren Wilson's not going to be indicted. I don't know if that's the case, but wherever this information is coming from, it's inappropriate, it's unethical, and it's just wrong. It's just wrong. We should not be doing stuff like that. Because what you're doing is you're not helping. I can tell you that. And you're kind of like lighting the fire, and you're just going to let it burn. You're just going to let it burn. Instead of trying to keep the fire from being lit, you're lighting the fire by releasing this information. That's not a good thing. St. Louis City is not going to be pressing charges against protesters that were arrested in August when they marched from Keener Plaza downtown to the Wainwright Building. Now that protest, that's the one where Heidi Epstein was arrested. Heidi Epstein is a 90-year-old Holocaust survivor. You remember her picture being in the paper and everything? She was arrested at that one, and they're saying those protesters, St. Louis City is not going to, I guess St. Louis City's like, you know what? No. Let's just, no. Then we're not going to press charges. Now, I did get tense last night during a demonstration that went to the Ferguson Police Department. Police put up a barricade across the street from the police department, and protesters tried to cross the street, but cops pushed them back onto the sidewalk. Apparently, some of the protesters threw water bottles at the police. Now, see, here's where things kind of go off the rails when things like that happen. There is a thin line between anger and hostility. And it's okay to be angry, but when you're hostile, it's kind of like being angry but out of control. And that right there, my friends, is what we don't want. It's okay to be angry as an emotion. Hostility is like anger on steroids. And that is what we don't need. We don't need to give the police a reason. And throwing a water bottle at a cop. You ever been hit by a water bottle? That don't feel too good. That does not help the situation. I know it's emotional. I know this whole thing has got everybody frustrated. I understand that. But doing those kinds of things do not help. I'm just saying. And I think these demonstrators have done a magnificent job. There are some times, though, where, it gets a little out of hand, but, something like this, as emotionally charged as it is, those things are going to happen. But it's important that we keep it in perspective and keep our eye on the ball. That shooting in Canada that left one soldier dead and 3 cops injured. Cops don't know why. The shooter's also dead. His name is Michael Zahath Bibbo. They don't know why he did what he did. But he's dead. And, Canada is always known as a very peaceful town and very peaceful country, I should say. And, guns are not a big issue there as much as they are here. But nonetheless, there was some shooting going on at the Parliament in Canada. And no one knows why this man went left. Was it terrorism? Was it a man who snapped? Was it a man who was off his meds? We don't know yet. Hopefully we'll know soon enough. Amber Vinson is the Dallas nurse. Remember her? She had been diagnosed with Ebola. Remember, she got on a plane. First of all, she was one of the healthcare workers who treated Thomas Eric Duncan, the man who died of Ebola in Dallas. And then she got on a plane and she called the CDC, and apparently they didn't really give her any instruction. So she went to Cleveland to plan her wedding, and then she flew back, and that was something she wasn't supposed to do. So they put her in the hospital. She was diagnosed with Ebola, and according to her family, she is now Ebola-free. Now, her mother, Deborah Berry, is under a self-imposed quarantine. Mom had spent some time with Amber, person to person, so they're going to be watching her for about 3 weeks. Now, the CDC, from what I read this morning, they said, we have no idea what you just said, Tony Scott. we have no idea that Amber Vinson is free of Ebola. We don't know. You would think we would know. I guess that's what they're thinking themselves. We would know. If anybody would know, the CDC would know. They're saying we don't know anything about that. Her family says she's Ebola free. Man, there needs to be one source of information, I think. But I don't know. Just because the CDC doesn't know doesn't mean it's not true. I hope it's true. I hope she's Ebola free. Another man jumped the fence at the White House. Did you hear about this? It's like the second time in a month, isn't it? Something like that. The Secret Service, this time they put the dogs on him. And the dogs got their man. The dogs were injured, by the way, because he was kicking and punching the dogs. Dominic Adesanya. I don't want to mess up his name. Anyway, that's the man's name. And he had to go to the hospital, too, because the dogs, they got their licks in, too. Now, I did read last night that he raised his shirt to indicate that he didn't have a weapon. So he wasn't shot. But they put the dogs on him. Jodeci is getting back together. Have you heard about this? For the Soul Train Music Awards. Now, the awards are going to be November 7th, and they're going to air on BET and Centric on November 30th. It's going to take them about 3 weeks to get it edited down to, 2.5 hours. So, it's good to see. I hope Jodeci, everybody always says they love Jodeci is one of the greatest singing groups of all time. Can't dispute that. They're not the greatest singing group of all time, but one of them, yeah, sure. Because, KC can sing. And the other guys, I mean, they can't sing like KC, but he can blow, you know. But they just couldn't get out of their own way. That was the deal. The other day, there was a Twitter. Some guy went on Twitter and he says one of Usher's albums, and let's see if I can pull that up, because I normally don't comment on things like that because it's all subject to interpretation. But he said that Usher's album and a couple other people were the greatest albums of all time. And I got to thinking, dude, please. Now, I'm not talking about Usher as a singer. I'm talking Usher albums. He doesn't even enter the conversation as to the greatest albums of all time. Now, he's not even in the conversation. I mean, really. It's just no. No. So, I mean, I had to respond because I was like, no, mister. Not here, Junior. Oh, he says, here it is right here. Bobby Brown, Tony Braxton, Whitney Houston, Usher, and Mary J. Blige had the best R&B albums of all time, #classics. Have you lost your damn mind? None of those, Whitney Houston included, are among the greatest albums of all time. I'm not talking about their singing ability. I'm talking about greatest albums of all time. I don't think so. What's Going On by Marvin Gaye? Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. Go For Your Guns by the Isley Brothers. Climbing up the ladder and Go For Your Guns. And what was it? Voyage to Atlantis and all that stuff like that. I mean, come on, man. The Heat is on. Fight the Power, For the Love of You on that album. Some other great classic ballads. Earth, Wind, and Fire's Gratitude album, maybe the greatest live R&B album ever. Anita Baker, the album was Sweet Love. That's the one that white folks said was her first album, but black folks knew that the one before that, her debut album For Real, was actually the first album. I don't know why people missed that, but yeah, I mean, come on, man, a lot of those, no, greatest albums of all time, classics, please. I mean, it's all relative to people's taste, but clearly, Bobby Brown has an album that's one of the best albums of all time. Hush, people. There's no way in hell. We even got to Frankie Beverly and Maze, Joy and Pain, the first album, Happy Feelings. I mean, come on, man. Do your history. And I'm just in the 70s. I haven't even gone back to like the 60s. The Temptations had some great albums back in the day. I mean, you know, moving forward, Brothers Johnson. That first album, Looking Out for Number One. I'll Be Good to You, and just, you know, Thunder Thumbs and Lightning Licks, and, you know, it's just Land of Ladies and all. Come on, man. Don't go there, man. Stay in your lane, man. You can say Bobby Brown, Tony Braxton, Whitney Houston, and Usher, and Mary J. Blige had the best R&B albums in my lifetime, but clearly not of all time. Not even close. Jaden Smith, Will's Boy, is calling out all the rappers that are better than him to stand up. He's saying, show me. He dropped a song. He's saying, show me you're better than me. Calling Royce the 5'9", calling Chameleonaire, calling Positive K, would you please pick up the courtesy phone? Jaden Smith, hush. I don't think your daddy's even in the top 20. Maybe top 30, maybe top 50. I don't know, but I know he's not. I know he ain't in the top 10. That's for sure. That's for sure, right? T.I., was he in the top 10? You know what? I don't know. But T.I. is speaking on, remember Snoop and Iggy Azalea? Apparently Snoop posted a picture of an albino with some French braids and said that was Iggy Azalea without makeup. Iggy is the woman from Australia who's making it big in hip-hop right now. Some people say she's a fraud, but hey, the kids like her. What are you going to do? But apparently Snoop was, basically he was bullying her. For what reason, I don't know. But apparently he decided, he talked to T.I. and he's just stopped. He even put out a short video about that. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to behave or something like that he said. I played it for you on one of the earlier podcasts. Might have been last week. But T.I. was on MTV and he says, I ain't really do anything.
When I called him, you know what I'm saying, it was a very, very, very cordial, respectful, hey, big dog, what's going on? And he immediately said he knew what I was calling about and just, you know, just assured me, man, It's nothing to even worry about. It's over with. And we started talking about something else immediately. I didn't ask, request, or demand for any post to be put up or apology to be extended. He did all of that out the kindness and the goodness of his own heart. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? I know, but I didn't make Snoop do anything.
I heard that. Can anybody make Snoop do anything? Can Boss Lady, the wife, can she make him do anything? But T.I. says, nah. Because I asked that question last week when the story came out. What did T.I. do to get Snoop? That was what the story was. T.I. put a halt to all this bullying that was going on. And I wondered, what did he say to Snoop? What did he tell him? But he says, I ain't do nothing. Do you believe T.I.? Does he have a reason to lie about it? I don't know. Pebbles said they lied on her. Pebbles, remember the TLC movie last year? Well, Pebbles is suing VH1's parent company, Viacom, for $40 million. $40 million. She says the TLC movie portrayed her, quote, as a conniving and dishonest businesswoman who hoodwinked 3 innocent girls and exploited their talent for her own personal gain. And also alleges that the network, quote, ignored fundamental canons of journalistic and literary conduct by publishing false and defamatory accusations with actual malice. Which means they knew they were lies and they put it in the movie anyway. And she wants consequences and ramifications. She wants $40 million. Now, I remember working in radio when this all happened, the movie and Pebbles' reaction, and everybody was Team TLC. Everybody, because TLC was portrayed as the victim in the movie, right? We don't like rooting against victims. Never mind whether it's true or not, because people, that's the thing. People don't realize that it's a movie. It's based on real people, but no one said it was it was the truth. It was the truth as they saw it. I was always suspect about all that. I was. Said it on the air. People got mad. I didn't care. I'm just saying. I mean, I just refuse to believe that Pebbles was that evil. And it took, I know some of the stories had come out over the years, but no one was crying foul, and then everybody said that when you get your first recording contract, there ain't many people in the business, maybe a handful, who don't get screwed on their first contract. That's just part of the business. Should the business change? Absolutely. But that's part of the business. That's why a lot of young artists, they go on the road because that's their money. Tanika Wilson was the transgendered woman that was in the car when Teddy Pendergrass crashed his Rolls Royce and was left paralyzed. Remember, that was in 1982.
I didn't find out Teddy was paralyzed until it got in the paper, I tried to reach out to him right after the accident. I went to the hospital where he was, and there was a woman there, and she said, well, you're not going to see him before his son does. And she caused this big scene, and I just left.
That is Tanika Wilson. She says she finally met up with Teddy in 2002. That's 30 years after the accident. And she says they didn't really have much to say to each other. But for Tanika, she says there was closure. She was on Where Are They Now on OWN on Sunday night. So if you want to check that out, I got a clip on Streets of Talking at talking360.com. Remember when that story broke, though, there was always the rumor that Dr. J's wife was sitting in the back seat. I guess we'll find out if that's true or not come Sunday. They've got to address that rumor. What was her name? Turquoise? They're not married anymore. Turquoise Irving was the thing, or something like that was Dr. J's wife's name. But yeah, remember that? And then remember, right after that happened, the Lou Rawls Cavalcade of Stars for the United Negro College Fund came on, and Teddy was performing. And Teddy was dancing around, and this is supposed to be a live show, and Teddy's dancing around and, singing his hits and everything, and everybody's like, well, I thought they said he was paralyzed. But he was dancing around because, it was like live performances supposedly, and everybody was confused for a minute. And we all wish that was actually live and he was okay, but that wasn't to be the case. Teddy died of colon cancer in 2010. A critic went in on T.D. Jakes for wearing a diamond ring, quoting, "I didn't know that preachers wear diamond rings. Preachers are supposed to be humble like Jesus was and preach the real truth. You're not even close to being like Jesus. You flash your ring, but the truth is you say you know God, but do you really? God wouldn't flash jewelry around, and you really need to read your Bible." Acts 2:38, everything in the Bible is the truth. People need to open their eyes and read their Bible, not listen to things that you want them to hear. Their blood is on you, Bishop Jakes. The things you say is sad. You teach what you think they need to hear. But do you teach on how the hair is a woman's glory? No, you teach what you want them to hear. Man, I feel sorry for you on Judgment Day. The blood that is on your hands, all these people that will burn in hell with you, and they will say why. John 8:47. T.D. Jakes responded, "Only cowards throw such rocks and then block their sight for comment. My diamond ring is my wedding ring. I've been married longer than you've been alive." He also went in on some other things. If you want to read it for yourself, I'll link you to it on the Streets of Talking page at talking360.com. A cop is in trouble for wearing a murder victim's watch. And then there's a story about another man who faked being in a coma for 2 years, and I'm going to tell you why. And what NFL quarterback is being accused of not being black enough. I've got all that for you coming up in less than 30 seconds. Hold on.
Do you want to reach an audience that you haven't tapped into yet and not blow your budget? The Tony Scott Internet Show is new, growing, and available to you. Advertising on the Tony Scott Internet Show is extremely affordable. Contact us at advertise@TonyScottShow.com.
We are back on the Tony Scott Internet Show. A couple things I want to tell you about. We got a brand new Men on Everything is a show that I do that includes Mark Clark, who's my old radio partner from back in the day, my daughter Olivia's godfather, and Troy Johnson, who comes from a broadcast family. His father is a radio legend. And both very intelligent men who have great perspective. And we talk about all kinds of topics. In this episode that's up at talking360.com, just click on Men On. The episode's called United Hates of America. And we talk about Darren Dion Van, the serial killer. We talk about the prisoner who wanted to look at porn while he's locked up for 50 years. We talk about Shonda Rhimes going in on someone who had a problem with the gay sex scenes, as this person called them on her show Scandal, and How to Get Away with Murder. Talked about Carol's daughter selling out to L'Oreal. The movie Dear White People. We talk about Ebola. We talk about Michael Brown and Darren Wilson. Check all that out on talking360.com. We have both there's actually a video show, and we also make an audio podcast of it too. So whether you need to take it with you and listen to the podcast, or you got time to sit and watch it on your device of choice, whether it's a computer, desktop, laptop, tablet, smartphone, whatever it is there. Someone said, "Tony, you should get an app. Well, give me some money." You know, to get like a good app that's not buggy and all that, minimum, probably just to sit down and talk about $1,000. So, yeah, man. Not today, Junior. Hey, the Dallas Cowboys released Michael Sam. Michael is the first openly gay football player in the National Football League, although he's yet to play in a regular season game. The Rams drafted him, and then they let him go. The Cowboys signed him to the practice squad, and now they've let him go. They needed his spot on the practice squad for a linebacker, so Michael Sam is looking for a job. And there are plenty of jobs. I mean, really, if you think about it, the Oakland Raiders suck beyond all suckability on both sides of the football, and they could use some help. Maybe they'll sign Michael Sam. I could see Michael wearing the silver and black of the Oakland Raiders. Since we're talking about football, my friend Robert Littall, who has a great sports site called Black Sports Online, had a posting about how Russell Wilson, the quarterback of the world champion Seattle Seahawks, who the Rams beat last week, by the way, is that a lot of Seahawks players, African-American players, they think Russell Wilson isn't black enough. They also think he's too close to the front office. What's the gauge to define whether somebody is black enough or Latino enough or white enough, or I don't know. But black, he's not black enough. What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't understand. Did he only like white women? Does that mean he's not black enough? Does he only hangs around with white people? Does that mean he's not black enough? Does he not acknowledge Black History Month? I'm being silly now, but I mean, what is the determining factor in saying that someone is not black enough? That just makes no sense. None whatsoever. You know what don't make sense is this Detroit police homicide sergeant who was suspended. They found him wearing a murder victim's watch, an expensive watch. Sergeant Alex Vinson was in charge of a case several months ago involving a murder victim who was found wearing an expensive German-made watch. It was photographed, put into storage in the property room. The victim still hasn't been identified. The case has gone cold, but he was in Idaho for advanced police training, Sergeant Alex Vinson. And some fellow detectives decided to reopen the case because it was a cold case. They said, well, let's put some fresh eyes on it, see where we can figure out something. So they wanted to look at the watch, but when they removed the victim's belongings from the property room, the watch wasn't the same one that was photographed at the start of the case. It was a cheaper model. It was a knockoff. Now, the FBI got called in, and Alex Vinson was wearing the watch during the training session. He went back to Michigan and was read his Miranda rights by Internal Affairs. But come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, dude. Dude. Don't do that, man. Don't do that. Don't. That is. Oh, man. Come on, man. Really? I mean, I could see if it was like a drug dealer who wasn't dead, he just got arrested, he's going to probably lose everything. I mean, stealing is wrong. But to take a dead person's watch. I mean, if they were still alive and in jail, it's still wrong, but, you could say, hey, but this other thing, man, that's just garbage, man. Don't do that. Don't do that. And finally, a British man pled guilty to stealing 40,000 pounds. That's their currency, which is about, close to $65,000. Stole from an elderly neighbor. This man pretended to be in a coma for 2 years so he could avoid charges. Alan Knight pleaded guilty after being charged with multiple counts of theft and making a false representation for gain. He'll be sentenced in about 2 weeks. He had delayed going to court claiming to be a quadriplegic who had periodic seizures that left him in a comatose state. Since they couldn't get him in court, his trial was delayed, but an investigation revealed that he had been faking his symptoms, including pictures of him at the grocery store. His wife had taken pictures of him with tubes hooked up to him, laying in the bed, and all kinds of things running out of his body and all that. But investigators found footage of him walking around on closed-circuit TV without a neck brace, without oxygen, without a wheelchair. He's shown walking through a doorway with his family. And when he was busted, he said, all right, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. So now he's in a whole lot of trouble. Not only for the $65,000, and now you done faked the funk, and they caught you. So not only do you appear guilty, the jury probably going to be pissed off at you for stealing from an old lady, and the second of all for faking to be a quadriplegic and faking seizures when there are real people who are quadriplegic and have seizures that need our mercy and our prayers. You, my friend, you're a bad man. You're a really bad man. And basically, you suck. Who does that, man? Gonna fake a coma for 2 years? Let's leave it right there, shall we? We're coming up on 30 minutes. And I try to limit the show to 30 minutes. I don't want to take up all your day. But I appreciate you listening, giving us a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribing to the channel is so important. And hopefully that you will, and share it and repost it and all kinds of things like that. We put it on as many platforms as possible. Spreaker and Podbean and iHeartRadio, YouTube. All of them are on the TSIS page at talking360.com. TSIS for Tony Scott Internet Show. Thank you so much for listening, and subscribe to my newsletter. You can do that right there on talking360.com. Just look to the right and you'll see where you can sign up for it. All right, have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow.